I'm about to tell you a mystery that has puzzled me for over half a century, and it's a true story. Before I can tell it, though, you have to understand some things about my father, as he's the one who told me the story when I was not yet a teenager. First, understand the type of man he was. Hard worker. During my upbringing, he often held three jobs, and I can't remember him ever having less than two. And the type of man who never used the word super without the words man, market, or bull following it. He did not exaggerate, embellish, or enhance anything. He did not add his imagination to expand reality. Long before I became a photojournalist, he would have made a Walter Winchell type of reporter. Straight facts. Knowing that, let's get started. On this particular night, my father was working his second job as a cab dispatcher for Penhill's Cab. Penhill's was a neighboring town to Wilkinsburg, where we lived. The laws at that time were such that since this business was a former service station garage, complete with lift bays and gas pumps, it was because the nature of the gas pumps being visible meant that the public had the right to pull in and buy gas. He once told me the public price posted was 5 cents higher than other stations around to discourage customers pulling in. Still, this night, a man pulled into the station in a new Buick Roadmaster. If you remember the Roadmaster, you know that Buick chose a good name for this beast. Before my father could get outside to see what the man needed, he rushed into the office asking for a payphone. While the man was directed to the phone on the wall, Dad went out to pump gas, which he assumed was the reason the man pulled into the pumps originally. This brought the first and second of strange things my father would encounter that night. The vehicle had manufacturer plates, Michigan, and there was a lead seal over the gas cap. Type of seal you'd see on natural gas and electric meters to prevent tampering. A sight so unusual, so puzzling, my father went back to the office to ask the man about it, but stopped upon hearing part of the man's conversation. At this point, my dad noticed the man was sweating profusely and speaking in an agitated manner. Overheard was, "Yeah, and what if the gauge is broken? I ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere and this car's seen." He ended the call with, "Yeah, thanks, I know, I'll get it signed." As he reached to hang up the phone, my dad cleared his throat and said, "I was going to fill her up, but there's a seal over the gas cap." The man looked startled for a second that my dad was standing there, but he felt the guy believed he had just walked in. The driver said, "Wait here, I got to get something first." I remember Dad telling me that he started looking around for who might be trying to prank him. He was so puzzled by this fellow's behavior. He expected Alan Fudd to pop out at any minute and say, "You're on candid camera." Even more so a minute later when the driver returned with a form that asked my father to sign. The form had blanks to be filled out, documented that the signer, who was my father, had to verify. Basically, it wanted to know where, the address, when, day, date, time, and how much gasoline was pumped. Another thing I remember clearly was my dad mentioning that he thought it odd the price, either per gallon or total spent, was not requested by the form or the driver. Only 1.3 gallons was all it took to fill the tank. Total cost, 41.47 cents. The driver was astonished, needing so little gas. My father heard him mumble, "Oh, the damn thing actually works." My father started to ask questions, but the driver offered only thanks as he hurried to drive off. Dad and I talked about this often at home years later when I would drive him to work so Mom would have use of the car. We speculated that whatever was in that Buick, figuring it came from somewhere in Michigan where the Buicks were built, how it could travel over 300 miles on less than a gallon and a half of gasoline. A new engine? Carburetor? Maybe a new type of transmission. We expected to see this marvel on our highways in dealerships very soon. Nothing. Why? Did Big Oil buy the rights to whatever it was and then lock it away? Were there other problems discovered that scrapped the whole project? What happened? Or what didn't? If you have some suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Have a blessed day and stay safe, please.